Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me again today, Charlie Cook. Charlie is riding shotgun with Charlie's Gungrams. He's all over YouTube, man. He's got like 36 gazillion hits. Charlie, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I always look forward to these. These are great.
So, last time we were on, you were on. There wasn't the day after you appeared, man. I think the world spun on its axis another time because the gun world has talked about nothing except Alec Baldwin for the past 3 or 4 days. The magic 72-hour window has expired. For those of you who may have lived under a rock since Thursday, Alec Baldwin, in my opinion, murdered one person and seriously injured another one. Now, murder may not be the right word. At least negligent homicide. Alec Baldwin was in control of a gun that killed somebody. His cinematographer. I say his cinematographer because he was the producer of the film, as well as the star of the film. Charlie, man, there's been, you and I have been trading news stories back and forth all day long.
There is so much stuff, so many things we hear about and then we don't hear about, and it develops and it changes, and it was this and it was that, and man, I don't. I respect the folks that do the 72-hour rule, but oh my goodness, the 72-hour rule is. I get that things are going to change, but man, oh man, oh man, I'm chomping at the bit. I got an email message from one of my clients, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about all this?" And we've had a couple of emails back and forth, and I'm like, "Dude, tune in at 6 o'clock to check out the Daily Bullet. That's all we're talking about."
Yeah. Yeah. Let me give you as much as I know up to this point, and that is this: that Alec Baldwin was in control of a firearm that obviously had a real live round in it. This thing was not a prop gun. A prop gun is not capable of firing a real round.
Right.
This was a real gun. It had a real round in it, and he really shot and killed somebody and injured a second person. John Petrolino had an article here not all that long ago. As a matter of fact, he sent it to me over the weekend.
He put the article out on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yes.
And then all the Alec Baldwin incident happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is great timing."
Exactly. And we're already getting just comments just blasting in. Paul is quiet, Charlie is loud. You know what? I think I can cure that. Give me just a minute here. I need to bring up my audio mixer. Why am I quiet and Charlie is loud? Let me get to audio settings.
That is a good question.
And let me turn myself up just a little bit. And yeah, I can turn Charlie down a little. I don't know. Let's leave Charlie where he's at and just leave it with me turned up a little bit.
There we go.
At any rate,
so John's article was talking about an instructor who pointed a firearm and lasered like his whole entire class, and how it was not good to do this, particularly with a group of brand new firearm students. I mean, we talk about the 3 gun safety rules, 3-4 rules, whatever it is, whichever you subscribe to. It's the same rules. Finger off the trigger, safe direction, check to see if the gun's unloaded.
right.
And this instructor wasn't doing this, and this is exactly what Alec Baldwin did not do. He broke all the safety rules.
Absolutely right. Now, my understanding is that they were blocking off a shot. The light was changing, so they were doing some positioning to see how the shot would look for a camera. And the shot was supposed to be that Alec Baldwin was supposed to point a firearm at the camera and pull the trigger. And so that's why the cinematographer was in the position she was, because she wanted to see what the camera was going to see. Well, and he was supposed to cross draw, come up, point and fire, or point and pull the trigger. And yeah, I mean, from a rapid draw, I don't care if somebody tells. Okay.
Take a deep breath.
Yes. I am not a firearms expert. Let me repeat that. I am not a firearms expert. If I'm an expert at anything, it's driving. I've got over 2 million miles under my belt. There's darn few people that can say that. I will say this. If somebody walks up to you and says, take this 90-degree left-hand turn at 90 miles an hour in this 1973 unmodified Pinto, and you try it, not only are they an idiot, you are for doing it. And you are just as responsible for the damage as you are responsible for the damage, no matter if it's on a movie set or anything, because you should know that's a stupid move. Okay? If somebody hands you a firearm and says, point it and pull the trigger, and you do, and you haven't cleared it, you are guilty of negligent homicide if that person dies.
Yeah, I'm with you. I saw John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. He was the blonde guy. Mm-hmm. He was doing an interview on somebody, and he called it a criminal negligence, I think is what he called it. Yeah, which obviously is a bad call. So let's take a look at some of the things that we do know, and some of the things that we've heard, and how they've progressed, and maybe some of the things that get on our goat, because certainly I'm sure the things that bother me probably bother you as well. The big things are the media calls it a prop gun when it was a real gun, which gets under my goat. And then they said the gun discharged. It's not like he shot it. It discharged, which sounds like there was a problem with the gun. There wasn't a problem with the gun. The gun did what it did. You squeeze the trigger, the hammer releases, the trigger releases the hammer hits the firing pin and makes it go bang or click, depending on the condition of the firearm. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that get me. And the stories that we've heard are, it's Alec Baldwin's fault, and then it was the props director's fault, and then it was the assistant director, because the assistant director was the one that declared it was a cold gun, and then it's gone to, they were taking the firearm and they were going out, they being the cast and crew, whoever that may be, the infamous they, but they were going out and shooting it in New Mexico. You probably do not have to have a permit to purchase ammunition, so you've got these, and I'm, generally speaking here, you've got these probably liberal actors and actresses that are out of California and have a chance. What's the old saying? When the cat's away, the mice will play.
That's it.
So, yeah, you take them out of California where they have restrictions on all of their firearm ownership and ammunition purchases. You put them into a place where they have a real gun, where they can buy ammunition. And one of the stories I heard is they were target practicing. Target practicing? Really? For what? The Olympics? What are they practicing target shooting for? They're out blowing off some, shooting in the desert, and one of the live rounds ended up getting mixed in with some of the dummy round, or some of the blank rounds, and this is where the problem starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get some of these comments in here real quick. New York Outcast says, just seen Charlie on a salty cracker video.
Yeah, totally unrelated. So salty cracker. So I did Let's Go Brandon as a gungram last Sunday, and I used, I think, five different guns, 6 different guns. I used a 22 single action revolver, a Walther P22, a Glock, a 38, and an AR. So I used 5 different guns, and it's got about 120,000 views the last week.
Wow.
And Salty cracker. I think I should be offended by salty cracker because I might be a salty cracker, but yeah. So that's been kind of cool and fun.
All right. Edward Sanchez says the assistant
Eddie.
director on the movie Rust, who handed a prop gun to Alec Baldwin before the fatal shooting last week, was previously fired from a film after a gun incident injured a crew member. The movie's production company told CNN.
Yeah, there was some safety violations on another movie a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and there was some pyrotechnics violations as well. And I also heard that there was a couple of negligent discharges a week and a half ago during the filming of the same movie.
Wow.
Like for yeah, so I mean, this guy, I want to say his name is Dave Halls, is what I remember hearing. It sounds like he's really not paying attention to rules.
I'll get a couple more comments in here. Clovertack, man, you're always all over this. Clovertack's right on point. Charlie's just naturally loud.
Jesus. Last week last week he thought I was hot. Today I'm loud. What's next?
He goes, airsoft paintball simulation count as breaking the rules. That brings up a great point. There are a lot of people that and I have a real problem with this. Anything that is a firearm shaped object, they want you to apply the 4 rules to. And I think that is baloney. If it is a firearm, apply the 4 rules to it. Abso-friggin-lutely. If it is obviously, and everybody around, if it's a blue gun, if it's manufactured to be a simulated, and everybody agrees it is not capable of firing, then you do not have to follow all 4 rules. If the thing is a Nerf gun and it is intended to shoot soft projectiles at a slow speed that couldn't hurt anybody, then you do not have to apply the 4 rules to it. My opinion only.
Right. So, I mean, airsoft, people use airsoft for training. People use paintball for training. Paintball, I've never gone paintballing, so full disclosure there. But people like to go out and do this, so they get, the snot beat out of them. They still get hurt with these. And at the Faster Saves Live class over the summer, I took 4 shots with a rubber ball. And I still have a little mark on my arm where I had a scab that was about the size of a nickel.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a mark that is not going away, man. But the purpose of the simunitions is to go through all of the training so that you do some force on force.
We're slowly getting caught up on comments here. We're still 7 minutes old, so we're getting them in, guys. We're getting them in. Michael says, AB is guilty of negligent manslaughter. However, will probably get an off as the left will protect him and have the position of it was the girl's fault for handing a gun with real ammo in it. I think the girl is the armorer,
Yes.
Why is it not the fault of the girl's boss, who was the producer of the film, who, by the way, was Alec Baldwin? So, I mean, if you're going to pass the buck, you might as well end with the executive producer, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, and I heard that one of the stories I read said it's a low-budget movie with a less than a $6 million budget. I would love to be a low-budget movie, I'll tell you that right now. The other things I heard is there were 3 different levels of, there's a prop master, and then a weapon master, and then a weapon expert, and due to the budgetary restraints or constraints, they did not. They had a prop master. They didn't have a weapons master or a weapon expert there to check and verify all of this. So, who does that go on to? Does it go into the prop master that the executive producer hires? I mean, it all kind of comes back to Mr. Baldwin.
You know what? It comes down to, again, it comes down to the person who is handling the firearm. That is first, last, and always the person who bears responsibility. Just the same as it goes, the blame, the damage the vehicle does goes to the person behind the wheel. If somebody tells you you can make that corner at 90 and you believe them, you're still the idiot that tried to do it.
Right.
Let's see here. Oh, I love this one. Give me a guy. And I just got more comments in, so it jumped on me. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I lost the comment. Oh, no.
No!
That's exactly right. Here we go. I got it. Edward Sanchez says, if you hand a loaded gun to a chimp and the chimp kills someone, you're to blame. Same concept here.
Have you seen that video with the monkeys with the AK-47?
Yes. It's been a while, but yes.
Right.
I think there was more safety in that video than on an Alec Baldwin set. I really think there was.
Well, nobody got shot in that video. There were no chimpanzees that were harmed in the making of that video.
Right. Edward, again, we're getting lots of... Edward, thanks for commenting, everybody. Especially Edward, we're getting a lot of your comments. And per CNN, an AD, Assistant Director Halls, did the handling. I'm wondering if they had an armorer for that rehearsal. My understanding is the armorer was I do not remember the name, but there was a 24-year-old armorer that was employed on this movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember her name either. I saw a couple of pictures of her, and not that it matters. She had some tattoos and some face piercings, and I guess her father was also an armorer, and she was young and new, and not that it's an excuse. It's not. Yeah, you know, something else no one else has brought up is the fact that the bullet went through the woman that died and ended up in the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it was. I mean, they weren't using hollow point ammunition.
No.
And they were probably just using ball ammunition. And your ball ammunition, if you're going to be carrying ball ammunition, can go through your. I'm going to use the term loosely here. Your intended target and into someone else. And it passed right through this woman. I guess it went through her stomach and caught him in the shoulder. Maybe. I think that's what I read.
Well, my understanding is and without demonstrating, it was supposed to be the camera angle was supposed to be looking up, with Baldwin looking down, a cross draw, and a downward pointing shot. So both of them would have to have been looking up towards Baldwin. So cinematographer possibly squatting, and the assistant director maybe laying behind her.
So if this is something he's practicing, does he have to practice firing it? You know, like, can you practice drawing the gun out and pointing it at the camera without having to fire it?
And you know, this is the extent of the work I do with film, and film is none, but I do know about camera angles. I did work in television in my early 20s. I do know a little bit about that, and let's put it this way. You go to watch any Western ever made, there is a fist fight scene. With the very few exceptions, one I know of was John Wayne in one particular movie. Every fist fight, they don't hit each other, folks. It's all done with camera angles. You don't need to point at what you're shooting at. You know, do you think in all the shootout scenes they're actually shooting guns towards the other person? No. So,
of course not.
Could no, this was horrific, and I gotta be honest with you, Colonel Cooper's 4 rules are there for a reason. If you have to break multiple rules for anything bad to happen. And rule number 1, always treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Obviously, they broke rule number 1. Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. Obviously, they broke number 2. They had to break 2 rules for something bad to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The reason that we have these safety rules is so that they're security nets for each other. You can have a loaded gun and point it in an unsafe direction, but if your finger's not on the trigger, it's not going to go bang. Mm-hmm. You can put your finger on the trigger of an unloaded gun in an unsafe direction, and it's not going to go bang. And obviously, when we're shooting, we have our finger on the trigger, loaded, the gun's loaded, and we're pointing it in a safe direction. But when you break all 3 rules, bad things happen.
Absolutely. See here. Clovertack, great point, man. Technology, period. No reason to have a person behind that camera. Come on now. Yeah, you can do remotes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's tripods, small cameras, all sorts of stuff. I mean, Clovertack's a guy. He's a camera guy.
Yeah. Rosie says, if they would have hired me to be the expert, this story would have been on the wouldn't have been on the radar screen. You know what? And I bet you Rosie would have been cheap too, man.
Tactically frugal, Paul. Tactically frugal. Rose, let's face it. Rosie's going to have everyone shooting, black powder.
Yeah. With bores about this big around.
Right.
I'm going back to a little bit of an older one. Michael Schmidt says, I just purchased 2 new pistols. The salesperson checked the weapons, and then I checked the weapons when they were handed to me. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Emily Post actually wrote it in her book of etiquette, that if you someone hands you a gun, they should check it and you should check it. So I think it's in Emily Post's book of etiquette.
You know what? You've got to believe in Emily Post, man. I mean, come on.
You do.
I've seen this meme, but I've never seen proof beyond just a meme, and that is that I heard her next movie was going to be about pedophiles in Hollywood. I've never seen any proof of that, but yeah,
same here.
Edward Sanchez over at the Facebook side. Background from attorney Andrew Branca, lethal force defense expert. I have not seen that video. I've seen the write-up of that video, but I've not watched the video yet. That is on my list of things to get done today, which is desperately falling behind. I should have had a million things done that never got done up to now.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting to see what Andrew's going to say about this. Maybe it is, maybe it's not manslaughter, or maybe it is criminal negligence. I mean, ultimately, we all know that that Baldwin's going to get off on this, and they're going to try to put the blame on the armorer or the assistant director, and then if we keep spinning, like you said, we keep spinning the passing the buck, it's going to end up going back to Baldwin, and he's not going to serve it. He's not going to serve a day.
Edward again says, I think far too many people are conflating gun owner liability and personal use with prop use by an actor. They're not the same thing. That's just that they are. They are very much, you are using a tool, whether you're using it as a personal owner or somebody hands you a tool. It's a deadly weapon no matter which context you have it in. If they were to tell Alec Baldwin to get in the pilot seat of a helicopter and take off, and he did it without proper training, wrecked the thing and killed a couple people, guess who was at fault? He was.
Yeah.
Great point. New York Artcast says if you pay for a service like a food for a wedding and everyone gets sick and someone dies, it wouldn't fall back to the people that paid for the legitimate service. That is true. It would fall on the person who acted badly, who didn't follow protocol.
Yeah.
Which again goes to You
The
have to
chef.
check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and if you are an aspiring actor and you're watching,
You just cut out.
for some reason, I
There
do
we
not
go.
know why my microphone has been freezing up lately, and I gotta find out how to cure that. But
Right. If
if
you're
you
an aspiring
if
actor,
you're an aspiring actor, if you ever get a if you ever get a role with a firearm, take this as your cue. It is your responsibility. I don't care if there is an armorer. Make sure that gun is not firing capable when you take possession of it.
I've heard some people say that this is going to affect the movies, and
It
obviously
should.
we have a it. Well, the Hollywood folks like to say that gun ownership is bad and we shouldn't own guns, and then turn around and do movies with guns. So I don't think we're going to see the use of firearms in movies end. It somehow might change. I've heard some people say that you can put in the muzzle blast after in post. What do they call it? Put it in post
Hmm.
post production. Um, I've seen. I used to teach at a place that had a Glock 17 hooked up to a an air tank, and you could squeeze the trigger, and it let out a laser, and the slide came back and went forward and recocked the gun. There are ways to do it so that you can have modern firearms function and still be able to produce whatever, still be able to get the action to recoil and still have them function like it's a real gun.
Yeah.
You just roll my eyes and throw up my shoulders when I say that.
Or I don't know, you could plan a little bit ahead and make sure that you're following Colonel Cooper's four rules and
Yeah.
take just, one day ahead of time, get some real training with a firearm, respect what you're doing, respect the safety of what you're doing, and none of this will ever happen.
Mm.
Yeah, Clovertack, again, one of your fans, man, Charlie's dead on again. Technology.
Let's be careful with the dead on, okay?
uh, Safety protocols will change and more safe guns will be used. The rookie has already shifted away from real firearms with blanks since the incident. Yeah, Hollywood is going to do what Hollywood is going to do.
Right. They're maybe make some changes, but they're not going to stop making movies with guns, and they're not going to keep telling us that we shouldn't own them.
Right. Yeah. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Boom.
All right. We have burned up 30 minutes doing this, man.
Oof.
I'm telling you, it doesn't take long. We are going to be on the air again in another 30 minutes. We've got Polite Society podcast coming up at the top of the hour. It's just going to be me and Charlie and John Richardson tonight. It's going to be a short one. No guests, but I'm sure we're going to be talking about this all again. Everybody come join us for Polite Society podcast, top of the hour. Charlie, always fun. Thanks for doing this with me, man.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you in a bit.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.